Welcome, welcome, welcome. I would like to welcome you to episode 313 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And here at the Unpopular Podcast, I'm not really asking you to agree with me. I'm asking you to hear me out. For people that know me, or people that, I guess, frequent the podcast, I think you know that I'm an avid basketball fan. Basketball is my first passion. While yes, I talk about other sports on this podcast, basketball is my favorite sport. I've been watching basketball for a while, and while there have been critics about the Allstar game, I was never one of those critics. You know, I understand what the All-Star game is. I understand that it's it's not just the All-Star game. Let me say All-Star Weekend. I understand that it is a showcase. It showcases the top talent of the NBA. It showcases exactly what the NBA has to offer. It tries to bring in new fans. I get it. But where I want to focus on for the start of this episode is, of course, the All-Star game. Again, basketball, I love basketball to death. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of those like people that I enjoy what the product that is given to me. And again, when we go back to the All-Star game, I have never really been the most critical of it. I get it. You know, it's fun. Nobody wants to get hurt. I understand what it is. I understand the goal of it. I understand, these are the best players in the world and they are putting on a show. I get it. But this year was different. This year was different. And while yes, I'm mainly talking about the All-Star game. This kind of goes This kind of goes for the entire weekend. You see, I am very adamant, and even if I wasn't a basketball fan, I am very adamant in saying that the NBA puts on the best, I guess you can showcase of talent, or the best All-Star weekend. We don't need to talk about the Pro Bowl. You can talk about the quote-unquote All-Star weekend for MLB, and the Home Run Derby is quite exciting. But I don't think All-Star Weekend in NHL is good, but I just don't think that any sport does it better than the NBA when we talk about All-Star and showcasing their talent. But this year felt different. This year, I didn't feel what I usually feel when I watch All-Star Weekend, when I watch Saturday night and watch a 3-point contest or the slam dunk contest. Watch, I even enjoy the celebrity game. I enjoy the Rising Stars Challenge. I enjoy all that. But this year was different. This year it didn't feel as big. It didn't feel as important. It didn't feel as star-studded as it should. And when I say star-studded, yes, the best players in the world were still out. Yes, KD wasn't there. Steph wasn't there. Zion wasn't there. But, you still had LeBron. You still had Luka, Nikola Jokic. You still had the players. But it just didn't feel... You know what it is? During the All-Star game, this is one of the first times when I felt, while I was watching, because I watched the whole thing, I felt bored. I felt like this isn't as special as it is. Now, again, I'm not one of those people to like, oh, they don't play any defense. Or it's not like the 90s where it was a legit game. I'm not like that at all. But it just felt different. See, and shouts out to, shouts out to Damian Lillard for winning 3-point contest. Shouts out for Matt McClung for winning slam dunk contest. That was pretty exciting. Shouts out to everyone that did what, shouts out to Jason Tatum for winning the All-Star game MVP, having the most points in All-Star game history. I think it was 55. Shouts out to him. But I think this is probably one of the first times where there was like no defense. Like not an ounce of it. It was just dude coming down, hitting a three. You had a good moment when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were going one-on-one. Damian Lillard hit a shot, a three-pointer past, or he didn't even go past half court. It just didn't feel. It didn't feel good. It wasn't exciting. Let me say that. It was not exciting. And shouts out to the NBA. You know, I actually enjoyed the playground style, picking the players. But as you know, it was going to lead to awkward moments. It was an awkward moment when Triple J was the last pick of reserve. It was an awkward moment when Lauri Markkanen, who was a hometown player for the Utah Jazz, he was picked last. But it was followed by a funny moment, or it was following a funny moment when Nikola Jokic was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not getting picked last, bro." I don't know. And I was thinking before recording this episode, like, how can we fix it? I'm trying to be a solution-based I am a solution-based person. So how can we fix it? Now, I already know we're never going to get back to how it was in the 90s or early 2000s where they played legit defense. Because, I mean, there's really no incentive. I know that there's charities or whatever, but there's really no incentive for anybody to play. And you actually saw that this year with LeBron James. LeBron James went up for a block, hurt his hand. He was out for the rest of the game. Hell, you can even go to a different sport. You can go to the NFL. When they did the Pro Bowl or skills challenges or whatever, Myles Garrett, I think, dislocated his foot or toe or something. So, yeah, I don't think that they're ever going to really play defense like that. And I don't know. Maybe this is just a one-off. But I have heard a lot of people complain. Now, there's a lot of media people, a lot of sports media people have been complaining for years about it. And about just the lack of defense and the lack of effort or whatever. And I was always on the side of, you're missing the point. You're missing the forest from the trees or whatever the saying is. It's like, it's not real. It's meant to put on a showcase of the best talent, and that's what it's doing. Now, yes, I understand back in the Jordan days, early Kobe Bryant days, rest in peace, that they would play some type of defense, especially towards the end. And you kind of see that every year. Now that they're hitting a projected goal or projected score, they're trying to, they're trying to play defense. They don't want to lose. I get that. But it was just boring. And again, I'm not trying to take away from Jason Tatum. Again, shouts out for scoring the most points in All-Star game history with 55. I don't know. And again, maybe it's a one-off because last year didn't feel as last year wasn't boring at all. Maybe that could have been because Curry had 16 threes and LeBron James took it home and hit the three. I don't know, but it just didn't. I don't know. There's something wrong with the All-Star game. Maybe if this is not a one-off, if this is the norm, or if this moving forward is how it's going to be, I am fearful of the future of the All-Star game. And I'm not saying that maybe a little bit more defense. I don't know. And that's the thing. I really don't know how to fix this because, again, there's really no incentive to play any type of defense because these players know that they're the best players in the league. And whether they play defense or not, they still have All-Star attached to their name. So it's like, what is the incentive? I could say money, but the league, I don't think that can work with contracts or whatever. So they're allocating money to charities. But even in that, at least what we saw this year, they didn't care. They just did what they. And again, I'm not taking away from all the winners. I'm not taking away from, Jason Tatum winning the Finals MVP, or not Finals MVP, winning the All-Star Game MVP. And I saw the stat that the last two Finals MVP or All-Star Game MVPs, which was Giannis and Steph Curry, also went on to win Finals MVP. So maybe Jason Tatum follows suit. I don't know, but. I and as a person that loves basketball, still gonna love basketball after the All-Star Game. I just didn't find it exciting, and I didn't find it as entertaining. Well, I didn't really find it entertaining. The most entertaining part was, of course, surprisingly, was Saturday, and the 3-point contest. Again, shouts out to Damian Lillard for winning 3-point contest, and the slam dunk contest only because of Matt McClung. I'm sorry. If Matt McClung was not in the slam dunk contest, it would be garbage like it's been for the last few years now. So, All-Star games happened, and now we're on to the second part of the season. But that was just my take. I just felt different watching the All-Star game. It did not excite me like it usually does. Cool jerseys. I did enjoy the East and West jerseys this year, but it didn't excite me. So, also, some big news that we got over the weekend was with Russell Westbrook. And Russell Westbrook agreeing to a buyout for the Utah Jazz and going and will be signing with the Clippers. Now, of course, as we know, with him being on the Clippers, it reunites him with Paul George, and now he'll be playing with Kawhi Leonard. The league always shifts, The league always gravitates to something. And with it gravitating to something else goes obsolete. It's kind of like a phone. When the iPhone 4 first came out, it was the most high-tech thing the world damn near has ever seen. Now we're on iPhone 11 or 12? iPhone 4 is obsolete. And the league used to be geared towards centers. Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, those days. Now, of course, Bill Russell. The league used to be centered around, or used to build around centers and out. If you had a good center, you build around a center. Again, Shaq, Dwight Howard, early Orlando days. I mean, hell, Dwight Howard led Orlando to an NBA Finals. It used to be build around a center and you'll be good. And then in the late 2000s, early 2010s, it started gravitating towards build around wings, build around a LeBron James, build around a Carmelo Anthony, build around while he's a guard by definition, build around a Kobe. You start to build around wings so that, if you have a solid dominant wing, you're good. I mean, you can also talk about Amari Stoudemire back in the day. You can also talk about Chris Bosh. Hell, you can talk about Paul Pierce. Build around a wing, a star wing, and you're good. I mean, hell, LeBron James won an NBA Finals with Norris Cole and Mario Chalmers as his starting point guard. And I know Norris Cole and Mario Chalmers just called it straight, but it's true. Late 2010s, it started gravitating towards build around a guard. Build around a guard, and you'll be good. Build around a Steph Curry. Build around a Russell Westbrook. Build around a late Carr, build around a Derrick Rose before he got hurt. Build around a D Wade, of course, with LeBron and everything. And of course, now it's just either build around a star, get a team full of stars. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying, I say all that to say this. The age of the guard that is uber athletic, but is very inconsistent when it comes to shooting, is gone. Now, I'm not saying that Russell Westbrook can't be and won't be valuable to the Clippers. I'm not saying that at all. But if we think that this is going to be the Russell Westbrook that was in OKC with Paul George, that could possibly be the case. The difference is, however, that is not leading you to as many wins as it should, or as many wins as it would in OKC. You see, Russell Westbrook will go down as one of the greatest talents the league has ever seen. Not because of the accomplishments he has garnished, because he has been able to do something that the league has never seen. You cannot talk about the history of the NBA without discussing Russell Westbrook. Him averaging a triple-double for 3-4 years straight will never be done. And while, yes, shouts out to Russell Westbrook, I'm not here, pooping on his parade or anything. But with you leading and being the triple-double king and having 3-4 years straight of triple doubles, what did that lead in success outside of an MVP? I say all that to say this. I think it was a good move for Russell Westbrook going to the Clippers. But I think we possibly have overvalued the Clippers. And not just overvalued the Clippers, overvalued the state of the stars that this team is built around. And that is Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook. Now, you see, look at some of the teams that we think are good enough to win a championship. I mean, we just saw Golden State win one. So let's talk about Golden State for a second. You have Steph Curry, you have Klay Thompson, you have Draymond Green. One of those two cannot shoot. Two of those three are arguably the greatest. Well, one of them is the greatest shooter we've ever seen. The second one is arguably top 10 greatest shooter we've ever seen. You also have Jordan Poole. You also have the depth look like is coming around. I mean, Gary Payton II's back. Dante DiVincenzo has been good. Or let's look at some good teams now. Or I'm not say good teams. That's crazy. Let's look at some teams that's probably above them. Let's look at Denver. You have two-time MVP. Looks like he's going to win his third straight in Nikola Jokic. You have Jamal Murray. You have Aaron Gordon. You have Michael Porter Jr. What is the difference? In fact, you know what? Let me simplify this for you guys. And I'm not calling you stupid. Please do not hear me say that. I think we may have overvalued Kawhi Leonard. I think we may have overvalued Paul George. And I think that because of that, we possibly have overvalued Russell Westbrook to a state. And this is what I mean by that. There's no doubt that Kawhi Leonard is a top 75 player. And there's no doubt that Kawhi Leonard was the key piece that won the Toronto Raptors a championship back in 2019 or 2018, one of them two. And people, if you've been listening to this podcast, if you know me, you know how highly I view Paul George. Maybe a lot higher than other people, but I view Paul George in a very high light. But not in the way that you think I do. Let's talk about Kawhi Leonard for a second. And something that doesn't really get talked about it much, but I'll talk about it here, is we kill Anthony Davis. People kill Anthony Davis because of his lack of availability due to injuries. Hell, Charles Barkley called them street clothes, and that is kind of stuck. I think one of the biggest reasons why we kill Anthony Davis for not, or while people kill Anthony Davis for not being available, is because there's high expectations for the Lakers. And people understand that if Anthony Davis is not healthy and available, the Lakers aren't winning. It doesn't matter if LeBron James is there. You see, in fact, fun fact, in the last, 3-4 years, Anthony Davis has played more games than Kawhi Leonard. Oh, another fun stat. He's played the same or more games than Paul George in that same stint. You see, in this era of building a team with stars, you have to understand who the right stars are to build. Kawhi Leonard is one of the best players the league has ever seen, especially when we talk about two-way players. However, his availability is not. He is one of the most unavailable stars we've ever seen. And as we've seen with Paul George, I love Paul George, man. But the best two iterations of Paul George we've ever seen is his last few years in Indiana and his 1 or 2 years, maybe 3, or the year that he finished third in MVP. What I'm saying is, I don't think you can expect a person like Kawhi Leonard and like Paul George to be the core of your team and have championship aspirations. No, let me say this. Of course, you're gonna have championship aspirations, but I don't think that they're because of their unavailability. They're not. It's hard to build a championship around that because you don't know, and them being in and out the lineup, it messes up rotations. It messes up knowing your role because you don't know your role because your star players are not there. Which leads me back to Russell Westbrook. While yes, you can be the triple-double king. While yes, you can be one of the most, if not the most athletic point guard we've ever seen. Even at his pinnacle, none of that led to winning. None of it. Even alongside LeBron, KD. Now, yes, they were younger, but the league was different then. But even alongside KD, alongside James Harden, twice, alongside Paul George, alongside Carmelo Anthony, alongside Bradley Beal. Now alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, it has not led to winning. And while I'm happy for Russell Westbrook going to the Clippers and not being out the league, I just don't think his style of winning has ever equated to any type of winning. And now that, to me, he's on the decline of his career, I don't see it happening now because of the team that he chose and because of just how he plays. Because he chose to align himself with players that are so inconsistent with their availability that they're going to ask Russell Westbrook to do more. He's going to need to do more. And that's where you get high turnovers. That's where you get the Russell Westbrook that has been not the best. So while, yes, when available is the key word. That might be the title of this episode, when available. When available, Russell Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George would be a great nucleus, or would be a great core for a championship team. The problem is we haven't seen a reliable dependable Kawhi Leonard since being in Toronto. We haven't seen Paul George be the Paul George that the Clippers want him to be since he was in OKC. And Russell Westbrook hasn't attributed to winning basketball since ever. As an individual, Russell Westbrook, again, he's a top 75 player. You cannot discuss the league without talking about Russell Westbrook. Statistically, some of the things that he's done, or the things that he's done, I think will never be broken. Hell, Nikola Jokic right now is averaging a triple-double. I don't think he can do that for 3-4 straight years. So I say all that to say this, man. I wish nothing but the best for the Clippers. And you have 3 really talented players. I'm just interested to see how this is going to work. Because if it didn't work with John Wall, and while, yes, Russell Westbrook at this point of his career is better than John Wall at this point of his career. But if it didn't work with John Wall, who is a uber athletic guard who can't really shoot, what do you think Russell Westbrook's going to do? I get the allure. It's Russell Westbrook. I also get the Clippers need a point guard or needed a point guard. You let Reggie Jackson go. You let Paul, or what's his name? You let John Wall go. You have Bones Highland. I don't think Eric Gordon's going to play point guard. You have Terrence Mann, I guess, playing point guard, but nah. So I get you. You need to play point. You needed a point guard, but it's like it doesn't matter if your star players are in and out the lineup. It doesn't matter who you have. There's no consistency there. So what they're trying to do is you're trying to buck the system and build consistency where there is none in the playoffs, which isn't going to work. Hell, look at the flameouts that the Clippers have had. I mean, if you don't want to talk about the bubble, look at the flameouts after the bubble. Yeah, they made it to the Western Conference Finals, but that was without one of their stars. Then they got destroyed, I think, by the what? The Nuggets? What I'm saying is this, man. I'm happy for Russell Westbrook, and I'm about to move on, but I don't know how much this moves the needle, is all I'm saying. Because these are some big names. But if you really look, outside of Kawhi Leonard, what have these big names done that has led to winning? I love Paul George, but nothing he's done led to winning. A championship, at least. Nothing Russell Westbrook has done, even at his apex, has led to winning. So we'll see. Let's move forward. It looks like the Green Bay Packers are done with Aaron Rodgers. If what reports are saying is true, and there are a lot of people reporting this at this point, a lot of reputable people, the Packers are kind of done with Aaron Rodgers. And it looks like they're preparing and looking to trade Aaron Rodgers. I think that the best 2 teams for Aaron Rodgers right now is either the Jets, due to having a good running back, good wide receiver, and a really good defense, and a defensive-minded coach. Why did I say it like that? Coach, a defensive-minded coach, and Robert Saleh. They also have Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator. And the Raiders, they have Devontae Adams, they have Darren Waller, they have Josh Jacobs. Their offensive line is terrible. Their defense isn't that good, even though you have Max Crosby and you have Chandler Jones. But, yeah. But I said this before. I said this, I think, in the beginning of the season, that there are some players built for different. Well, let me say it like this. Some players fit teams better than others. There are some players that fit an area better than others. I'm not taking away from how great Aaron Rodgers is. I'm not taking away. I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, at least greatest talents. But I said this in the beginning of the season. I did not think Aaron Rodgers was made for. I didn't think Aaron Rodgers fit this iteration of the Packers. Because this iteration of the Packers needed a person that was willing to teach and was willing to be a mentor to the wide receivers or the young players. And Aaron Rodgers is not at that point of his career where he's willing to do that, if he ever will be at that point. LeBron James is like that. LeBron James has never, ever been at that point where he wants to. He's all about winning championships. And even if that, hell, you remember the famous draft day, Andrew Wiggins getting shipped out for Kevin Love. I mean, Andrew Wiggins was the number 1 overall pick, and he got shipped out draft night for LeBron, or from the Cavs to the Timberwolves for Kevin Love, because LeBron James has never been in the business of wanting to mentor, or let me say, wanting to be a vet for younger players. Which is why I think LeBron James would be absolutely terrible. Now, he'll still be a good player, but absolutely terrible on a team like the Detroit Pistons that has all those young players, or the Spurs that has a whole bunch of young players. Aaron Rodgers needed to come to OTAs. It needed to come to training camp to build a rapport with a Christian Watson, with a Romeo Dobbs. Instead, he didn't. And you see the entire season outside of Christian Watson, they struggled with a connection. And Christian Watson didn't build a connection with Aaron Rodgers till like the end of the season when it was too late. Now, yes, I'm not blaming I'm not blaming all the failures of the Green Bay Packers on Aaron Rodgers and the connection with the wide receivers. I think the defense underachieved drastically. I think the offensive line didn't do the best job, especially when we talk about the run game. The play calling wasn't the best. I think it was all around failure. But I said this in the beginning, man. The Aaron Rodgers is not. He's not the best person for this team. And that's not taken away from his talent. I'm just saying he's not the best person for this team. Now you look up, Aaron Rodgers more than likely will be on a different team next year. The Green Bay Packers, I don't know if Aaron Jones will be here. I think he signed a deal, so he'll be here. But now you're going to go into the season with what? Jordan Love? Good luck. This is a problem. This is a very preventable problem. But again, Aaron Rodgers is not that quarterback to want to do that. Hell, Tom Brady wasn't even like that. Tom Brady wasn't take me under your wing and I'll lead you. No. Tom Brady demanded perfection from everyone. He didn't want to baby you. He was like, no. How many times we got to hear, get open. You guys are better than this. You know what I'm saying? Tom Brady was not with that. Now, yes, he did have OTS or OTA. He did have like camps with his wide receivers or whatever. But Aaron Rodgers, that's not Aaron Rodgers. And again, I'm not taking that. That's the Aaron Rodgers they needed from him. And he just did not deliver. So now you're looking up. I think I see two teams. I see the Jets, and I see the Raiders. So, and it's just fitting. Not fitting. That's unfortunate, but it's crazy how starkly similar Aaron Rodgers' ending to the Green Bay Packers is to Brett Favre's ending to the Green Bay Packers, which, by the way, side note, Brett Favre still stole from the Mississippi welfare funds, and hasn't. In fact, the only thing I'm hearing about Brett Favre at this point is he's suing like 3 people: Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers, and somebody from not Aaron Rodgers, Shannon Sharp, and somebody from Mississippi. Hey, I don't have that big of a podcast, so I don't think he'll see it. But if he does, it is proven that Brett Favre stole from Mississippi welfare recipients, which, by the way, is the poorest state in the United States and has got no repercussions. Back to the show. So yeah, man, I don't. It's just crazy how this is the ending to Aaron Rodgers' run in a Green Bay Packers jersey. You know, he was a game away from the playoffs and lost to the Detroit Lions. So, and speaking of quarterback, talking about another quarterback, you have Derek Carr. Derek Carr isn't Aaron Rodgers. I think Derek Carr is really good. But Derek Carr is not Aaron Rodgers. I think that I'm interested to see Derek Carr on a good team, and a good team that has pieces that can help him. I'm not saying pieces as far as, offensive weapons, because even when he had when he was in Vegas, you had Josh Jacobs, you had Darren Waller, you had Devontae Adams. I want to see Derek Carr on a complete team, a team that has a good defense, that has a good offensive line, that has pieces on the offensive side of the ball. I want to see Derek Carr in a situation that's winnable for him. I think there's a couple teams he can go to. I'm hearing a lot about the Jets, but if I were the Jets, I would go. Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, is still better than Derek Carr. I would go for Aaron Rodgers. And if you don't get Aaron Rodgers, then go for Derek Carr. But I actually think the 3 perfect places for Derek Carr, 3, is the Saints, the Colts, or Washington. Looks like let's start with 3-1. Let's talk about Washington. Washington just got a new offensive coordinator in Eric Bieniemy. Offensive line isn't bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. You have a good piece in the running game. You have actually 2 good pieces, Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. You have a number 1 star receiver in Terry McLaurin. And we know their defense is one of the best defenses in the league, especially when we talk about sweat. Let's see what happens with Deron Payne. You have Jonathan Allen. Of course, you'll have a full season of Chase Young. I think that pairing him, Derek Carr, alongside an Eric Bieniemy would do wonders for him. And the offensive line is better. Every unit except for, of course, the wide receiver, because now at point we're talking about, and tight end, because we're talking about Darren Waller and Devontae Adams compared to Terry McLaurin, and I don't even know who the hell, or Logan Thomas. But you want to go to somewhere that has a really good offensive coordinator and somewhere that you don't have to do everything. And I think Washington would be 3rd. The Colts, they got a new coach. However, do they have a number 1? Well, yeah, you have a number 1 receiver, Michael Pittman. Defense is really good, and you have a star running back. Now, the offensive line ain't the best, but Actually, it was. You do have Quentin Nelson, but the offensive line was terrible last year. I think the defense is going to be better because, of course, it was dealing with a whole bunch of injuries and stuff. You know, DeForest Buckner, Shaq Leonard. Even though I think Shaq Leonard is going to be out a couple weeks. But I just think that, I mean, the defense is good. So, and I think the best team for him is the Saints. You have a proven coach. You have a really good offensive line. You have a star running back in Alvin Kamara. You have, we'll need to see what's going on with Michael Thomas. But you have a really good defense with Cam Jordan and Lattimore. You know, I just think the Saints is the perfect fit for Derek Carr. That's me. I don't think Derek Carr's as bad as a lot of people are saying. I also don't think he's a championship piece. I don't think if Derek Carr is your quarterback, you're a championship caliber team. But I do think that Derek Carr can win you some games. And I think if you put Derek Carr in the NFC South, he will already be the best quarterback in the NFC South. And when you look at the complexity of the NFC, at least right now, he would be one of, if not the best, quarterback in the NFC. I mean, of course, we'll have to see where Aaron Rodgers goes, but if Aaron Rodgers gets traded, more than likely it would be to the AFC from what we're hearing. Who is the best quarterback would be who? Dak Prescott? Kirk Cousins? Derek Carr, if he goes. You know what I'm saying? So, Jalen Hurts. Damn, I totally forgot about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts. My fault, Jalen Hurts. It is still February. Jalen Hurts is by far, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the NFC, but Derek Carr would be top 3. Probably number 2. So, let's move. I'm interested to see where Aaron Rodgers goes, and I'm interested to see where Derek Carr goes, and we will talk about it once it happens. So let's move forward. And I am very concerned about Lonzo Ball, man. A report has come down that he's shutting down for this, or he'll be shut down for the season. He hasn't played, I think, at all this season. He has, I don't know what the hell he has. I think it's like a knee injury or something, but they're saying at this point he still can't cut or run. And he's been out for longer than a year, actually. So I don't know, man. But the Bulls, man. Whew. Whew. The Bulls, Jalen Rose said it best, but let me explain it a little further. The Bulls are in the absolute worst position you can possibly be in for an NBA team. You have pieces, expensive pieces that don't fit. And if they do fit, they don't fit. You know, Zach LaVine doesn't really fit with DeMar DeRozan, and none of them really fit with Vucevic, who is a really good offensive center, but terrible on deep. Nobody's really good on the defensive side of the ball outside of Alex Caruso. But if he's your starting point guard, which they thought it was going to be Lonzo Ball, it's just, it doesn't fit. On top of that, you have some very expensive contracts, i.e. DeMar DeRozan, i.e. Zach LaVine, i.e. Vucevic. So on top of all, you have pieces that don't fit. You have expensive pieces that don't fit. And you have expensive pieces that don't fit that aren't leading you to a championship. So what does that mean? It means exactly what a lot of people have been saying, and that is a blow up is going to happen probably soon. And don't get me wrong, and I wish nothing but the best for Lonzo Ball. I can't wait to see him back out there, and I want to see everybody healthy. But even healthy, I don't think Lonzo Ball would have made this team look better. I just don't think Lonzo Ball would have been like a championship level piece. So I will not be surprised if they don't blow it up by the end of, or by the offseason or in the offseason. Don't be surprised if Vucevic is gone. Don't be surprised if Zach LaVine is gone. Don't even be surprised if DeMar DeRozan is gone. Which just so happens, and Alex Caruso, which just so happens to be all the names that were speculated to be shopped around during the trade deadline. This Lonzo news kind of confirms the fact of it was a failed launch. It didn't work. It was very iffy if it was going to work in the first place, getting a bunch of players that are okay offensively or really good offensively, i.e. Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. But you don't really have a star except DeMar DeRozan, but DeMar DeRozan isn't really a championship building star. He's never been, and he's really good, but he's never been. Zach LaVine definitely isn't a championship late to start. Like, then you base it around an injury-prone point guard in Lonzo Ball and a point guard who was a glorified bench player in Alex Caruso. This was bound to fail. And now there's only one move. You can continue to ride this, but for what? This is not going to equate to anything, so don't be surprised if the Chicago Bulls blow it up, and soon. Not soon, because it just passed the trade deadline. In the offseason. And you know what's bad? Because don't get me wrong, Patrick Beverley is Patrick Beverley. I think he has a very high sense of confidence for himself, which everyone should. But Patrick Beverley said it's between his choices after the buyout market was between the Golden State Warriors and the Chicago Bulls. And he went to the Chicago Bulls because, quote, the East is weak. And what's even the bigger worst part about this is Patrick Beverley is going to get some major burn and major minutes for the Chicago Bulls. Yeah, bro. They're gonna blow it up soon. They're gonna blow it up soon. Don't just watch. Also, I guess this is a bit of breaking news. Nate McMillan was fired as the head coach, or was relieved of his duties as the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks. Now that I think about it, why is Atlanta, they have two birds? But the Atlanta Hawks, you can kind of see that coming. We heard reports about the tension that he has or the tension that was between him and the star of the team, which is Trae Young. And I say this all the time. If there is a star that don't like the coach, they're not going to trade the star. They're not. I don't care who the coach. If Kobe Bryant, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. If Kobe Bryant went to the Buss family and said, "I don't want Phil Jackson." This is the same Phil Jackson that won 6 championships as the head coach of the Chicago Bulls. If he would have went to the Buss family and said, "I don't want Phil Jackson," who do you think is leaving the Lakers organization? I'll tell you. It is Phil Jackson. If Steph Curry went to Bob Myers and said, "Yo, Bob, I don't want Steve Kerr as the head coach." Steve Kerr is gone. Now, I'm not sure that's what happened with Trae Young, but it is a lot of very reputable people reported that Trae Young and Nate McMillan did not see eye to eye in the slightest. And on top of all that, the team's not that good. They're okay. They're 1 game below 500. I think they lost 4 of the last 5 going into All-Star break. The Hawks have absolutely no momentum. Like, There's nobody that thinks, outside of probably Atlanta, that thinks that they're going to make a noise in the playoffs. I don't see the Hawks making any noise. I don't even know if they're going to make it to the playoffs. But if they do, and that's after getting DeJounte Murray this offseason, which does not look like a fit with him and Trae Young. Shocking that two ball-dominant guards, even though DeJounte Murray does play okay, it's solid defense, two ball-dominant guards don't work together. Shocking. We also don't know what the hell is going on with John Collins. Why wasn't he traded at the trade deadline? And that's the piece they needed to trade. The Atlanta Hawks, they're a mess. And when your star player does not like the coach, 9.5 times out of 10, the coach is gone. Now you're hearing about, Dan Snyder or Quinn Snyder, my fault. Quinn Snyder might be the head coach after the season, because I know they had the interim coach, but and I think Nate McMillan is a pretty good coach, but again, when your star doesn't, when you and your star don't see eye to eye, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Lastly, before we go, I've been avoiding this topic all year, all season. I really don't want to talk about this, but I will. I don't want to talk about this, bro. Let's get it. We all have favorite teams, right? We all have that one team that we love above any team. My favorite team is North Carolina. My favorite team of every team to like. I like the Wizards. I like the Capitals. I like the Commanders. I like the Nationals. My favorite team is North Carolina. And I thought going into this season, bringing back what? 4 key players. Bringing back R.J. Davis, bringing back Caleb Love, bringing back Leaky Black, and bringing back National Player of the Year candidate Armando Bacot. I thought this was going to look eerily similar to the 2016 national champion North Carolina. Boy, was I wrong. This North Carolina team is terrible. From defensive lapses to terrible shot selection to just not being able to shoot. This team is not good. And maybe this team was over projected. I mean, it went into the season as a number 1 overall seed or number one team. And now as we sit here today, there's a good chance they do not make the playoff or March Madness. They're currently 16-11 and have an 0-9 in quad 1, which are like the good teams. They're 0-9. 0-9. Caleb Love takes horrible shots. Armando Bacot, who again was a National Player of the Year candidate, disappears in games. North Carolina is one of the worst shooting teams in the in college basketball when we talk about three-point shooting. And the defensive lapses is crazy. I knew we were going to miss Brady Manick. I just didn't think we were going to miss him this much. Because we got Pete Nance, who is a transfer. Because you have all the players coming back. A team that brings back damn near or 4 of their 5 starting 5 that led them to a national championship. Usually does not or usually doesn't look this bad. Again, North Carolina brought back 4 players, 4 out of 5 starters that led them to a national championship and was up 16 points at halftime. And now we look, and it's looking like North Carolina, unless they can't lose another game, maybe one game this year or for the rest of the season. And it's looking like they probably won't make it to the March Madness, make it to the tourney. As a North Carolina fan, sucks. But that is the reality of that's the reality we're living in. North Carolina is not good. And I was avoiding this topic because, I even put a video out saying that I thought this was going to be a championship run. I thought that a team is bringing back nothing but seniors. Who, by the way, Armando Bacot was supposed to go to the league last year. And now this team is there's a very good possibility they don't make the tourney. That is. And you know what's worse about this whole thing? Is that even if they make the tourney, a lot of people are kind of like Golden State. In a sense of people are waiting for them to flip the switch. People are waiting for Golden State to flip that switch to the championship caliber team that we expect them to be. I don't see a switch to flip for this North Carolina team. I've been waiting all season. Maybe they're just having a championship hangover. I don't know. I don't see this team winning anything. Even if they do make the tourney, this is a 16 seed if I've ever seen one. And if we look at the brackets, let's just go over to the brackets for a second. I don't see this. There's not a team in the top 25 that I see North Carolina being able to beat. Not a one. Not a one. Boy, imagine they had to play. They're the 16 seed. Having to play Houston or Alabama or Kansas again or UCLA or Purdue or Virginia. Come on now. It's tough as a North Carolina fan, but it is what it is. North Carolina is just not that good. So, there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast, and I truly, truly appreciate you guys. If you want a Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve, joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to if you're listening. Please subscribe to if you're watching. It definitely means a lot. I'm still learning how this TikTok thing works. And I see a lot of people are going. I appreciate all the views and likes and comments and stuff I'm getting from my posts. I'll leave the description below. Go subscribe to the TikTok if you have it. Go subscribe to the social media, the Instagram. Subscribe to here, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. It definitely means a lot to me. And until next time, much love.